Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar, Top Security Concerns for 2023. Thank you for joining us. As everyone is still getting signed in, we'll go over just a few housekeeping items. Please think of questions throughout the webinar and direct them to the Q&A section. We'll be answering them throughout and at the end. This webinar will be recorded and we will share the recording with you shortly after it's finished. If we don't get to all of your questions, we'll follow up with you afterwards. Reaching out to info@jamf.com will also get you in contact with someone at Jamf quickly. My name is Aaron Webb and I work in the product marketing organisation here at Jamf, focusing on our security space. I'm delighted to be here today to share this session with you as we dive into the top security concerns for 2023. The focus of this webinar is to look beyond what we've come through in recent years and specifically looking onward to the trends and predictions impacting cybersecurity in 2023. We have a lot to cover here today. For those that might be new to Jamf, or for those of you who already know Jamf for our management solutions, we will kick off with a quick overview and how we have both management and security solutions before we jump into the security trends of 2023. I'll then touch on how having a robust plan that can start today to mitigate against these threats before we recap on the content of the session and open it up to Q&A. Before I begin, I want to give you a brief overview about who we are and what we do here at Jamf. Our purpose is to simplify work. We do this by creating enterprise secure solutions that are consumer simple and protect the privacy of your users. More than 71,000 organisations rely on Jamf to manage over 30 million devices. Our stats as of January 2023 show some of the industries we support in the enterprise space, but we also help many schools, colleges, universities, hospitals, healthcare providers, and of course small to medium businesses across the globe succeed with Apple. So how do we do this? We provide solutions that manage and secure Apple at work. And we are the only company in the world that provides complete management and security for an Apple-first environment. Our ability to manage, secure, and extend the Apple experience with deep integrations with Microsoft, Google, and AWS, as well as many more companies to deliver a complete experience in the workplace, wherever that may be. We have a long history of delivering same-day support, so you can ensure you can support your customers and users the day Apple releases new features and security updates so that you can continue to be productive and secure in your work. And our customers think highly of the products, services, and support we continue to provide since we started over 20 years ago. So that's a brief overview of Jamf, but why does that all matter when we're discussing security trends for 2023? Well, Jamf not only manages Apple, but secures both Mac and mobile. The trends we are discussing today are not targeted at specific platforms. These are general trends in the security space that can affect any industry of any size. Our aim is to make organizations aware of the risk so they can make proactive decisions and be ready to react quickly to reduce the damage and cost should a breach occur. With the increase in use and reliance on technology, it has opened up new routes for criminal and malicious activity to take place, and organisations as well as personal devices are targets for a cybersecurity attack. So what did 2022 tell us and what can we expect in 2023? At number 5, it's to reduce insider threats with management and security. Insider threats are always a problem. Organisations are taking this into account and ensuring that they maintain a solid lock over their most critical applications. One aspect to this is the modern workplace is no longer the building that workers come into. It's more often than not their own home, and that home network has an increased number of connected devices, which means the risk of Internet of Things is considered a risk to the organisation. Companies are now having to ensure that only trusted devices are accessing corporate data and consider those connected devices that are on the home network that are outside of their control a risk to the organisation. So they're putting steps in place So only authorized users on enrolled devices that are free from threat should be accessing that corporate data and applications. An approach we are doubling down on at Jamf through trusted access, which I'll come on to shortly. But insider threats can't be eliminated because a lot of those actors are authorized to access sensitive data. But having the right management and security tools in place will allow you to control the transfer of information, for example, DLP on your BYOD, and maintain wipe functions if and when anomalies are detected to keep your most critical data protected. As I mentioned, threats cannot be eliminated, but it's the protection you put in place and how you react and the speed in which you can deal with them which is most important. At number 4, we have building a Securityware culture within the organisation. Focus is now on the end user enablement and keeping people productive. There are 2 lanes to that: the training and the awareness cybersecurity that comes from all departments and not just IT. Today, it's no longer adequate for employers or employees to simply think of cybersecurity as an issue for the IT department to take care of on their own. There is a need, and we're seeing a cultural shift and a change in mindset for the modern workplace, where people are more aware of phishing attacks, for example, and mindful of their actions. But you can't eliminate threats. Organisations are, however, putting in layers of protection, and the workforce is one of those lines of defence. Then, of course, there's the part that IT needs to focus on. Many organisations implement trusted access programs or starting to think about trusted access programs and stop strategically thinking about things and initiatives. They are putting measures in place today with basic security skills like the safe use of passwords and two-factor authentication, verifying every user and validating every device. With that, there is more awareness to ensure investment in solutions that are for the right platforms and right ownership models that are being selected. For example, if a company allow BYOD, they are having to make a BYOD solution in place and think about that solution earlier on in their plans. There is also a need, though, to shift in how BYOD is viewed. Are those devices managed? If they are managed, are they secure? What about those shadow devices accessing business applications and data with just a password? How are you addressing those? It's more than just corporate-owned devices, and IT are becoming increasingly more aware of that when they're thinking about their cybersecurity plans. I'd also say along the same line as if you have Apple devices in your organisation, there's a need to ensure the correct purpose-built for solution is in place that's made for Apple. This better helps defend against sophisticated attacks, building on Apple's out-of-the-box security features and extending them to provide what the workplace needs to ensure you have insight of all your users, devices, accessing your business applications and data, regardless of wherever your employees are working. With the right device management, user identity, endpoint protection, organisations create a hybrid work experience that the users love while creating a secure workplace that organisations trust. And if we keep that in mind, we'll all be in a much better position for the future. At number 3, we've got ransomware targeting education and healthcare. Across the board, we're seeing more sophisticated ransomware attacks. My advice is to make sure that the basics are being done, like run backups, but to also focus on the sophisticated elements. Most importantly, make sure targeted industries like underfunded healthcare institutions, education, both K-12 and higher education, as well as local governments, have a plan in place. Critical infrastructure providers like energy grid maintainers are also being a target. And more of these industries and verticals are performing basic hygiene checks and maintaining secure baseline, and that have a plan in place to respond to an incident when it happens. But don't pay the ransomware attack. Many do, but that's a decision that an organisation can make and a cyber insurance provider can make together. It's different for everyone, but many schools who have been affected by ransomware pay it to get their data or server reinstated. And that's public money taken from students and our future generation of workers and leaders. And it's happening all across all verticals. A recent report, a federal report from the US Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network states that US banks and financial institutions processed roughly 1.2 billion in likely ransomware payments in 2021. It also highlights that there were 1,489 ransomware incidents costing nearly 1.2 billion last year, which is a substantial rise from 14.6 million damages recorded in 2020, according to that report. I think that trajectory will continue as we get the figures for 2022 and head into 2023. And number two, it's the increase in nation-state attacks. The threats from nation-state actors will continue to evolve in 2023 for a number of reasons. And we're likely to see an increased number of cryptocurrency to fund cybercrime activity and other activities. But more importantly, more than 70 countries are due to hold governmental elections. Now, that's a key indicator to confidently predict the trend in more sophisticated attacks. And these events are frequently a target for attack by hostile foreign interests, as well as hacking and cyber attacks on infrastructure. We're likely to see an increase in disinformation campaigns on social media, which is a tactic often used to influence the results in favour of political parties whose victories would benefit from the government of the hostile state. And of course, cyber warfare will undoubtedly continue to form a key element in armed conflict. I was reading an article about the Russia and Ukraine conflict, and that digital is an important part of this war, as is the fighting on the ground. So that will continue into 2023. And as I said, that number of government elections and the amount that we've got going on globally will also mean that increase in nation-state attacks is going to be as a trend for 2023. Finally, number one is that zero trust continues to gain traction. And why we're hearing and seeing budget cuts, freezing on hiring, and companies doing less with more in these turbulent economic times, one trend is coming through, and that's the spend on cybersecurity. Many are saying they have the same amount or even increased money to spend to defend their business. And that's the need to defend the organisation, which leads to the increased traction of zero trust. Now, organisations are required to update their legacy systems and provide a safe, secure working environment for their employees everywhere. The workplace is no longer defined by the office. It's their homes, the local cafe, the train. It's all over. And as workers return to the office, a requirement for hybrid work or entirely remote work remains the same. At Jamf, we're uniquely positioned to bring the best of device management, user identity and endpoint protection to deliver trusted access, which enables organisations to ensure that only authorised users on enrolled devices and secure devices can connect to the business applications and data. The key, however, is not all of these work together, but form a continuous loop to deter, detect, and then remediate any threats. And that's the key. And when we advocate for us to use the best tools that are used for specific devices that you have, you need to capture those threats and make sure that action is taken quickly and effectively should there be a breach. Now, the mindset needs to shift from being to put proactive and put measures in place. The cost of ensuring the right systems, procedures and training are all implemented is a lot less costly than the ransomware demands from a breach. So let's recap on those top security trends for 2023. First of all, we've got that reduced threats, insider threats with management and security. And number four, we had building a Securityware culture. Ransomware targeting education and healthcare at number three. Increase in nation-state attacks as number two. And then finally, that zero trust gaining traction. Now, all of these interlock together. They're often a knock-on, but those are the top five. If you want to know more, we have a blog that goes into slightly more information. It goes into a few more trends, but these are the top five for this webinar that I focused on today. So what can organisations do to defend themselves against these threats? Well, let's look at some proactive workflows and solutions to defend your entire environment. The important takeaways for organisations from the trends in 2023 and what we've learned over the past few years is that we can expect more sophisticated attacks and should be looking to ensure firstly that they have the right solutions in place. Updates are vital, even those you may not consider as a vulnerability in your organisation. So for example, what is your hospital machinery and those systems and machines that you're using to detect patients' illnesses? What machines and what software is running behind them? Is it a Windows device? And if so, what version is it on? Is it a potential risk? Whatever the industry, whatever the device, running the latest supported OS and patching software to mitigate risk is paramount. To follow that, operationalizing your security tooling to effectively monitor for threats and hunt for incidents. 2023 is definitely going to be the year of the SIEM and becoming more mature in your cybersecurity approach. Jamf is seeing an increase in customers and prospects looking to integrate with their SIEM or exploring SIEM options if they don't have one already. We have many integrations including Red Canary, Splunk, Elastic, even Microsoft Sentinel to ensure visibility of all devices to the security tools that companies are already using or plan to implement. Now, every company is on a different journey of a different size with various experience and security knowledge and of course various budgets. But there are tools out there, the right tools to help mitigate the threats. So where can you start? Earlier I mentioned Jamf's Trusted Access. Well, let's have a look at this approach to securing your organization. As I said at the start of the webinar, Jamf's purpose is to simplify work. The reason we do what we do is because people want to love their technology. Apple makes an incredible consumer experience and many employees choose to extend that experience into the workplace. After all, who wants to carry two phones when they can just carry one? But this blurring the line between work and personal leads to some important questions that organisations need to reflect upon. It often starts with a discussion of trade-off. On one hand, users want simplicity and privacy. On the other hand, organisations want to achieve security and compliance. The discussion might mean something like, we need to secure these devices to be compliant and unfortunately the user experience may be impacted. Then there's the dirty little secret that despite all of the security you put in place on corporate-owned device, employee can still just choose to do work on their personal devices where there are things more simple and the privacy is respected. I'm highlighting the tension between serving your users' needs and achieving your security or compliance objectives. Many people believe there must be a trade-off. At Jamf, we do not believe this trade-off is required, but we do believe it requires an honest assessment of challenges facing the modern workplace, like we've seen here in the trends of 2023. So let me ask you two questions. First, do your users love the work technology as much as they love their home technology? And second, does your organisation trust that every device and every user accessing work resources is safe? If you can answer yes to both those questions, you are among the best of the best. For everyone else, don't worry, Jamf is here to help. We specialise in helping organisations manage and secure Apple at work, and nobody does it better or more comprehensively. I'd like to show you exactly how we bring together management and security to create an approach we call Trusted Access. Trusted Access combines and connects the best elements of device management, identity, and access workflows, as well as endpoint security. With Trusted Access, your employees can be productive on devices they love, while the organisation trusts every user, every device, and every connection made to the work resources. Let's briefly explore how the 6 elements of Trusted Access, starting with enrolled devices. Enrolled devices are a critical foundation to achieving Trusted Access. We must have visibility into every device being used for work. Apple Business Manager enables 2 unique enrollment workflows that every organisation should embrace. For corporate-owned devices, automated enrolment ensures that every device enrolls automatically the first time it's turned on. IT has full control over endpoints for the entire life cycle of that device. For BYOD devices, account-driven user enrolment allows employees to initiate privacy-protecting BYOD enrolment on their personal devices. With user enrolment, IT maintains control over all company data on these devices without having any visibility into or control over personal information like messages, photos, or apps. In either case, enrolment is built into all Apple devices, which eliminates risks associated with insecure enrolment URLs and invitations. Verifying each user's identity is another critical element of Trusted Access. Jamf integrates with every major cloud provider to provision local accounts with the user's cloud identity, creating a streamlined onboarding experience. Jamf also ensures that each user's password stays in sync with their cloud identity, minimizing IT tickets and employee downtime. Having the user's cloud identity bound to the device is important because you're able to utilize your existing cloud identity investment to map access and rights management all the way down to the user's local account. We also want to ensure that every endpoint is being used for work is protected. Jamf makes it easy to audit device security benchmarks to ensure that a trusted user on an enrolled device isn't out of compliance with your required security settings. Additionally, Jamf monitors endpoints for threats to automatically block and quarantine malware, keeping your endpoints protected and your data safe. The modern threat landscape is vast and the risks span from far beyond insecure configurations or malware, as we've seen in the trends of 2023. Jamf provides device-wide protection against phishing, malicious domains, ransomware, and other web-based threats that pose a risk to your organization's data and compromises user privacy. We also provide simple security awareness notifications through the Jamf Trust app to help your users learn to work smarter and safer. As I mentioned earlier, users are working from anywhere and from any kind of device. Jamf offers zero trust access to work resources with continuous device security monitoring, which adjusts access in real time if a risk on a device is identified. It works with any ownership model to provide a seamless experience that's always on and never in the way, establishing secure connections regardless of where your users are working. In an ideal world, nothing would go wrong, but when reality hits, it's important to have a robust set of automation and remediation options available when it's time to respond to a security incident. Perhaps you need to suspend a user's access, update an operating system or vulnerable app update. Maybe it's important to notify the users. The task will vary depending on the nature of the issue. But the most important thing to understand is that Jamf offers a robust management foundation that organizations to resolve any number of different issues with powerful automation tools. So that's a quick overview of trusted access. And while many organizations will have some of these individual solutions today, I hope this shows you why we believe it's critical that all of these solutions can be built to work together to secure the workplace from the threats that we have identified, not only today, but in the future as well. So let's recap on what we've covered today. We started with a Jamf overview before diving into the security trends of 2023. We then went through proactive workflows and the solution to defend your entire environment and included the overview of trusted access. Finally, I'd like to leave you with some additional resources. Firstly, Jamf Nation. Of course, we are nothing without our customers, and it's proven that with the Jamf Nation community. This online forum is home to over 100,000 Apple IT-focused individuals that learn from each other, discuss the best practices, and have access to a wealth of resources and third-party tools. Create an account, free an account today to join in on the discussion. We then have our marketplace, where tools and resources to help make the Jamf platform more useful to our customers with integrations with companies like Red Canary, Splunk, Microsoft Sentinel, and many, many more. All providing integrations between their solutions and Jamf to make your workplace both simple and secure. And to wrap up, we're pleased to present the first episode of the Jamf Security Lounge on February the 24th. I will be there joined by Fabio Viganari, who is the Chief Technical Officer at TrueSec Group. Now, Fabio has an extensive experience in leading red team assignments and incident response missions, as well as various types of security assessments and research. And he will be joining me in a fireside chat to dive more into the threat landscape of 2023. So sign up for our free webinar series of chats starting on the 24th of February, as we bring in guest speakers to discuss all things security with our experts and industry leads. That's it for this session. I hope you found it insightful and learned some useful information along the way that can help you with your zero trust network journey and to mitigate some of those threats and trends that we're seeing in 2023.